Hello everyone, welcome to a bonus episode of Mini Air Crash Investigation. This is going to be a very different video compared to the ones that I usually do. The ones that I usually do are focused on air accidents, and this one will be focused on the general aviation industry. These days, you might have seen a lot of titles like these. Delta, Air France, Qatar, Etihad are all planning on cutting big planes from their fleet. Delta is planning on removing the 777, while others are getting rid of their A380s. In this video, I'm going to be looking at why they're doing what they're doing and why it's the smartest thing to do right now, even though intuitively, throwing away relatively brand new jets that literally cost a few $100 million sounds like a bad idea. In the economic climate that we are in right now, travel demand is at the lowest it's been in decades, with demand not projected to go up for 1 or 2 years. So taking out excess capacity is the right thing to do. Otherwise, you'd be flying these massive planes almost empty, losing money along the way. But you might think that retiring them is a bit too harsh. The A380 is a brand new plane that costs about $500 million at list price. It seems wasteful to retire the plane so early. The same holds true for Delta's 777s. With an average age of 15 years, these planes have a lot of good years left in them, but they're being left at the figurative wayside. Here's reason number one. Storage costs money. Now, you'd think that when a plane's on the ground, it's making you no money, and you'd be right. But when a plane's on the ground, it's not only not making you money, it's losing you money. You see, to store a plane, you have to pay parking fees for that plane, and that's based on the weight. The heavier the plane, the more expensive it's going to get. Moreover, when the planes are on the ground, you have to maintain it so that when you actually do want to fly it again, it's actually airworthy. A figure that I found floating around on the internet was about $58,000 for 3 days per plane, and that's the lower bound. The actual figure is probably way higher. But that doesn't explain the early retirements on its own. Look at the 737 MAX. They've been grounded for more than a year, racking up fees, but you don't see airlines retiring them just yet. They know that when the 737 MAX does get back in the air, it's going to be profitable. This is where point 2 makes an appearance, the rise of ultra long-range flights. I'm going to be using Project Sunrise as an example, as that's a well-known flight. Project Sunrise aims to connect the major Australian cities with major cities like London and New York with a direct flight. This isn't good news for Middle Eastern carriers like Emirates and Qatar. You see, before, when one wanted to travel between Sydney and London, you'd probably connect via Doha or Dubai, but with Project Sunrise, you could fly direct to London and on an A350-1000. Business travelers would opt for the direct flight, and now you're going to find it very difficult to fill high-volume A380s, and to make it worse, you'd be missing out on the high-value business crowd. The A380 is only profitable if it's almost full. So now you have a plane that you can't fly in the short term, a plane that you might have to ground for a very long time, losing thousands of dollars on every single plane every single day, and a plane that will be very hard to run profitably. You see where I'm going with this, don't you? But you might be asking yourself right now, wait, if they retire their A380s and 777s right now, how will they cater to demand when travel finally does pick up in a few years? And that brings me to point number 3. All these airlines have new fuel-efficient long-range airplanes inbound. Delta has plans to take on A350s and A330s soon. Emirates has orders for the A350, 777X, and the 787. Etihad will take on the 777X, 787, and the A350. Qatar plans on taking on, you guessed it, the A350, 777X, and the 787. With the situation right now, these carriers can defer their orders to a degree and time the entry of these new fuel-efficient planes just as demand picks up again. And lastly, with all these new fuel-efficient twin-engine jets, you now have a flexible fleet. Let's go back to that Project Sunrise example. Let's say Project Sunrise is a runaway hit and Emirates is barely scraping by on their Sydney-Dubai route. With planes like the 787 and 777X, you can now fly to Sydney from Dubai profitably with fewer passengers. Let's assume the worst case scenario and say that demand collapses on the Sydney-Dubai route. With planes like the 777X, A350, and the 787, you can easily redeploy them on other routes, maybe to cities in India or Nigeria, or any number of other destinations. You just could not do that with the A380 due to the A380's need for specialized airports. The A380 was relegated to mega hubs, but these new generation of planes aren't. They are way more flexible. So now it doesn't really make sense to hold on to planes like the A380 no matter how new they are. It's a plane that will have a hard time fitting in the new aviation world after all of this passes. Thank you for watching this episode of Mini Air Crash Investigation. If you liked this video and you want to see more videos like this, please do let me know in the comments down below. A big thank you to iTrapper for letting me use his amazing videos on my video. Please like and subscribe, it'll really help the channel grow. I'll catch you guys next time. Stay safe, wash your hands.